Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Butch Gannett. I'm here as a representative from Hollis Grange, number 132. We meet down across from where the old Day One school, well, it's still Day One, I guess, but it's a retreat center now. We meet on the third Friday of the month, and we invite anybody to come out and join us. The American Legion also meets in that hall on the second Monday of the month, and we also go to breakfast over at Torrey Hill, 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning, second Wednesday morning of the month. We'll get that out of the way. The Hollis Grange has put together this program with very little effort on their part in order to introduce the candidates for selectman and town tax collector to the Hollis people. I thank the folks who have showed up here tonight. I thank the candidates for doing that. Don Marian will be the MC for this evening. And you can see that I've turned his name tag over just in case somebody wants to throw eggs or anything up here. But so without anything more, I would say if you have any questions that you would like addressed to the panel, come up to the table up there, put them on a 3x5 card, and we'll get them up here to Donnie, and we'll get them addressed. Okay, Donnie, if you'd come up. Oh, yeah, he was hiding. Oh.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Butch, for, if it hadn't been for Butch, we probably wouldn't be doing this. I reached out to him and said, you know, somehow we need to find a way to put on the candidates forum. He said, I can help you do that if you promise me that you will be the moderator or the MC. And I said, well, I really don't want to do that, but if that's the only way we're going to get it done, then I will do it. So I'd like to lay out a few ground rules before we start. This is a very friendly gathering with some very friendly candidates. We want to keep it civil. We want to keep it in order. We only want to ask questions that pertain to the job that they're seeking and not anything else. We're not going to address questions singularly to anyone. We're going to ask the same question to every candidate, so everybody will have an equal opportunity to have their say. So, without further ado, I think the first thing that we will do, we will ask the candidates to introduce themselves and give a brief history of who they are and where they're going. So we'd like to start with ladies first. Please, Heather.
Okay. Do I push this to speak?
I think it's on.
It's on? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Heather Peralt, and I live in Hollis with my husband of 25 years and our English bulldog, Gertie. I'm going to be going for the tax collector here in town. We bought our home 16 years ago, and I've had ties to this area most of my life. So I really look forward to serving the community that I have grown to love and hope to be a great asset to the town. In my spare time, my favorite things to do include snowmobiling, riding my motorcycle, and anything that brings me outside. And one of my other most favorite things is being an auntie to all my nieces and nephews. I'm very excited to serve the town people and meeting more of the fine folks who live in our wonderful town. And that's about it.
Thank you. Louis?
Hi, my name is Hollis Provost. I go by Lou. I've been in Hollis since 2018. I lived in Holton from 2023 to 2018, then moved down here. I worked with the military, Army Reserves, Federal Bureau of Prisons, and the FDA for the last 21 years. I have a wife, Robin, with 2 kids, 2 daughters, actually 3 daughters, one's adopted. And we're just looking forward to serving the community, working as a team, and then if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Dan?
Hey everyone, my name is Dan Urimian. I'm running for the 1-year term against Lou. I grew up in West Buxton Village, graduated Bonnie Eagle, class of 2004. I went to UMaine, Orono, class of 08. And then I moved to Limerick for a number of years. I was a land surveyor by trade. I moved to Hollis in 2014. No, 2016. Sorry about that. I've always been kind of connected to the community. I used to grow up, I played Hollis soccer with Debbie Teft, believe it or not. I've been on the Snowmobile Club. I'm on the Finance Committee. I'm on the Bonnie Eagle Scholarship Foundation. So I'm kind of involved with the community. I got kids in the district that use our rec facilities and rec programs. I've been involved with towns. If Chip or someone needs me out there to measure out the track, I'm the guy they call up because I'm the local surveyor. And I've met a lot of people through that as well. So looking forward to your vote.
Greg?
Good evening. Greg McPherson, I'm running for the 3-year term of the Select Board. I grew up in a small western Maine town in Mexico, not much different from Hollis. Grew up there until I left for college, where I went to southern Maine. Since then, I hopped around the Saco, Biddeford, in this area, until my wife and I bought our first house in Hollis. So as soon as we did that, I saw an opportunity to join the planning board, and I took that. And ever since, I've been on the board, then became the chair of the board. At the same time, I joined the Snowmobile Club, so pretty familiar with Dan. And then also, I was on the 5-person select board town manager committee to get that on the warrant. So I've been involved in the town ever since I've lived here. My grandmother, when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, she was volunteer of the town of the year, volunteer of the year for the town. So I was with her almost every day after school, weekends. So that's where I learned my, kind of the gut instinct to have civic duty for the town. So when I saw the chance, I took it, and I've been trying to, help the town in any way I can since I've lived here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hanwa?
Hi, everybody. I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction with an introduction. I'm going to just say my name is Mike Harnois. That's how you pronounce Harnois, Harnois. I am a resident about 7 years. I've lived in Hollis. I am the husband to Libby and the father to Adeline. We live up on Pleasant Hill Road. And I just have a quick opening statement. Thanks for having us here today. I'm running for the Hollis Select Board because I really do believe our town is at a turning point, and we have to move forward together. And how we do that really matters. As we shift to a 5-person select board and a town manager style of government, I think Hollis has the opportunity to build a more responsive, professional, and collaborative local government. Though that transition to the town manager model won't happen automatically. I think it requires thoughtful leadership, teamwork, and a clear framework. I'm confident that we'll prevail in this because we're sensible, we're practical, we're Mainers, and we care about our town and for one another. Just professionally, I bring many years of experience in leading training and education teams in corporate environments where success depends on collaboration, project charters, clear goals, and accountability. I've navigated through tough conversations. I've been the recipient of venting from unhappy clients. I've built consensus across departments. Sorry for all the corporate talk. I didn't deliver synergy. I didn't do that. So, and I delivered results in systems where you just cannot go it alone. I'm an independent. I'm a moderate, though I'm not here for politics, but for progress. I really do believe that respectful dialogue, smart planning, and putting people over partisanship is how we win here at Hollis. Hollis deserves leaders who know how to work together, especially now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tom?
My name is Tom Wachowski. I've been in Hollis since 2016. I've sat on the planning board for the past 5 years. Before that, I was in Leamington. I was on their planning board for just shy of 3 years. Before that, I graduated high school in Falmouth. After that, joined the military and then held various jobs in different categories all over the place, and ended up in Leamington and then in Hollis. I now own a small business in Hollis, a used car lot, and then we're in the process of starting a pizza food truck. We've been having a lot of test truck nights. Some of you have actually come out. I appreciate that. Glad you got to try the pizza, but that's the next thing. We'll do the car dealership and then the pizza truck.
Thank you. Thank you all for your opening statements, and thank you for participating and volunteering to do public service. I'm going to read a letter here from Jack Rogelio, who couldn't be with us tonight. In all fairness to him, he would like to have a little say here before the candidates event. And remind you that if you've got questions, you need to write them on a card and give them to Butch, and he'll bring them up to me if you want to ask the candidates any questions. That's how we're going to do it. So I'll read Mr. Rogelio's letter. I apologize that I am unable to attend tonight's Meet the Candidates event. Thank you to the Hollis Grange for sponsoring this event, and thank you for reading this statement in my absence. I would like to thank all the folks of Hollis for the opportunity that I've had to serve almost 7 years now. During that time, I was able to find ways to capture revenue for the town, from selling town-owned property to put toward the new town hall, selection the cutting of timber behind the sports complex, reduced costs by heating and switching our all-town facilities to propane, replacing all of our old appliances with energy-efficient ones, which decreased our high electric bills. I also introduced a liquid ice melting agent years ago to reduce the amount of sand needed to make our roadways safe, saving time and money while reducing the impact on the environment. I also act as the town liaison with Poland Spring by bringing them questions and concerns of the community and obtaining financial support from many of our projects, including the recent removal of vegetation around our town pond, which now allows easy access for the kids to ice skate in the winter and fish in the summer. They also donated us a snowblower to help keep the pond clear of snow. I work diligently with the Maine DOT to install crosswalk lights for the school children to cross Route 35 safely from the Hollis School to our aftercare program at the community building. We set up traffic speed indicator signs to get the stats for the Maine State Police and establish support for speed monitoring for the problem areas in our town. And, of course, I've been in support and committed to all phases of the building of our new town hall for Hollis. The Select Board has spent endless hours on this project, which is coming to full fruition very soon. The townspeople, our elected officials, and employees are deserving of a town hall that best represents our community, and I'm very proud to be part of that. I ran and took this position on the Select Board several years ago to serve the fine people of Hollis. If re-elected, I promise to continue to work very hard for you and our community, working together to achieve the necessary goals for the future of Hollis. Respectfully, John Jack Rogelio. Woo. Questions, Butch? Do we have any?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
All righty. Thank you. So we'll start, ladies first. I'll ask you the first question, then we'll move down the line. Each one is going to answer this, reply to this question, so that everyone has the same opportunity. So the first question that we have, all towns surrounding Hollis have a sex offender ordinance that is in compliance with the state law. 750 feet. While nobody likes this change, what do you think Hollis should do about exception to the rule? That's a hard one to start with, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a very hard one to start with.
I'll gladly go first.
Can I get clarification on the rule?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm not sure what the,
The state law said the compliance is within 750 feet.
Of what?
yeah, of what?
That I'm not sure. I didn't write the question.
Schools,
Schools,
parks.
of schools?
They can be in, like, what is the, I'm sorry. I just
They
need
can't be
clarification.
closer than 750 feet to an area where children might be present. I
And what
believe
is
our
the
current-
change that they want
Our,
to make?
I believe our current standard is like 2,000.
2,500.
2,500 feet.
And they wanna lower it?
And the question on our ballot coming up here in a couple weeks is bringing it from the 2,500 feet down to the 750 feet. Why I don't.
And it says, while nobody likes this change, why do you think Hollis should be the exception to the rule?
That's kind of,
I feel like it's not her question.
Yeah.
I don't see where that pertains to my job.
I agree.
And,
Johnny,
That's kind of a personal,
I
Yeah.
understand that. You want to pass?
Yes, please.
Lou?
Thank you.
All right, well, so the issue is you have the town with, I believe it's 2,500 feet or something like that, whereas the state law, state regulation is 750.
No more than 750.
No more, all right, so no more than 750. So the issue is the town can continue on with its 2,500 and then see if somebody has some kind of complaint against that, and then you'll have to deal with that going to court. Now, as working in the Federal Bureau of Prisons for 4 years, we house many of the sex offenders and everything, so I know exactly what they do. So the town has to decide whether you want to stay with the 2,500 or the 750. But you have to realize the risk that the state could come down and do some kind of penalty against the town. So right now I would stay with what the town says, and then if somebody has an issue with that, then you'd have to take it to court, or they would have to take us to court.
Dan?
Sorry, clapping. Sorry.
So my understanding, after watching the warrant public hearings and attending one of them, is the town sent all of our codes off to lawyers who reviewed them all, and this one got flagged as not being in compliance with the state law. And I looked up the state law, and it says that towns can write their own ordinance, but it can't be more than 750 feet. So, I get why the lawyer's flagging that as not being compliant with state law. If it was my choice to state law, it could be 10 miles from any park, but obviously that's not what it is. So the way I see it, it's just the town listening to their lawyers, trying to be in compliance with a law that is not of our pay grade to be changing. I wish it could be higher, but I don't want to set the town up for getting sued by not a sex offender, but the state attorney general who's supposed to be enforcing the state laws.
Dan, do you know if that's like living next to or just being?
What I read was it was people living within a park or school, not being,
It's residential.
Just not being, just living.
just
next
living.
to the school.
That's what the town,
They could live across from Monte Eagle High School, essentially. Or the elementary school. Or, I'm sorry.
no, that would be closer than 750.
2,000 feet right now. No, but it would be down to 750.
Greg?
Good evening. Greg McPherson, 3-year term, Select Board. So, everything that Dan is saying is correct. The part that I heard from the previous Select Board meeting was that this rule changed in 2017, I think was the year I heard. So we've been in non-compliance for about 8 years. And I've seen nothing come of it. And I know for a fact it would probably have, I don't know for a fact, I would highly be suspect that we have other laws or ordinances or policies that go against the state currently. So I don't know if, yes, there is risk that the town is under. What that amount of risk is, I think we would need to, have some counsel from attorneys. But I don't think this would have been the top of my top of my list to go on the warrant this year. I think if we had a list of every ordinance, policy, or regulation that was against state rule, we might have had some others that could have made it at the top of the list first.
Here.
Again, that being said, if the town does, get a charter, get the home rule, we still run into the same problem, that we can make rules that are more restrictive, not less restrictive.
Yep.
So our hands are tied with the state rules, but I just don't know if it was priority where we've already been 8 years, unless there's been some threat from the state that hey, we may lose funding for some this or that. That hasn't happened that I know of. So I just think there could have been other items that were on the warrant rather than this one. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Mike Arnois, the 3-year select board seat. And I've done a lot more research, or I've done a lot of research on this since that came up at the last town meeting, or the last 2 meetings, just because I wanted to understand it before I had a position necessarily on it. And this will be decided before any of us are on the select board at this point. It's going to be decided by the voters on June 10th. Obviously, an emotional topic for pretty much everybody, I think. Pretty sure nobody here or on the Zoom call is in favor of sex offenders, and like what Dan said, I think all of us would be fine with 10 miles away. But at the end of the day, Maine law, and this is basically from the website, the Maine state website, is Maine law allows municipalities to create local ordinances that restrict sex offender residency within a 750 foot radius of specific properties like schools and parks. So that's 750. Our existing ordinance exceeds that by 1,750 feet, making it unenforceable. There's nothing we can't enforce past 750 feet. And what is the enforcement? We can't. It's not like we call the police on this person and get them removed from their house. It's unenforceable. So we could not even bring our only legal remedy is to bring suit against the sex offender, which we can't do if they're 751 feet away from a park or a school. I get why everyone say, why don't we just leave it? Well, it's unenforceable. So saying yes to amending the this ordinance and aligning to Maine state law does not make anybody pro-sex offender. It makes them pro-following the law and aligning to Maine state law. If we want to change this, we need to talk to Nathan, or we need to talk to Henry, and we need to get this changed at the state level in Augusta, and then we can make it as many feet away as we want to. But that's my position on it, and I hope you agree.
Tom?
Very good. I've spoken about this a couple times at public hearings. I stand firmly beside the 2,500 feet. I understand that it goes in the face of state law, but at some point, residents need to say, hey, that's enough. And whether this is the hill you want to die on or not is 100% your choice, and that's why I'm glad that it's going to the ballot box so the residents can say what they feel should happen. Most of the stuff I assume we're going to talk about tonight is I feel the same way about it. It should be going in front of the residents so that the residents can make that decision and be informed about what the consequences are. Again, I stand fully beside the 2,500 feet and understand the consequences that may or may not come with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's try something a little easier this time.
It's a good start.
That's a good start, though. It's right out of the
It's a
gate.
tough one to start off with, but we surely got the water out the cracks. Okay, so the next question is, someone wants to know, do you have a plan for Hollis for when the TIFF ends, the tax increment financing? Lou, we'll start with you.
I feel like
I'm fairly new to this, so I just learned about through the comprehensive plan that I reviewed. I'm not sure what the revenue base, it looks like from what I read from the comprehensive plan that Hollis is pretty good with the revenue stream. So whether we can offset it with additional revenue from businesses or
I think the question probably means, do you, when the TIF stops,
Yeah.
the Poland Spring will start to pay regular real estate taxes. Hopefully will fill in for the TIF. If it does not, what will your plans be to cover the shortfall? I think that's what the question
Right,
is.
so what I was saying, so once that ends, I have to look at it from the comprehensive plan. It looked like our revenue stream was sufficient. I think the TIF was just, right now, was a kind of a luxury for the town, and we need to start looking at maybe improving some small businesses and help small business come into the town. Looks like, from what I read from the plan, was they didn't want anything big like Walmarts or anything like that, so maybe some more home-based businesses, or like the other gentleman with the food truck, something like that, to offset the decreasing revenue.
Dan?
I've been on the finance committee, so I've been kind of looking at the numbers and stuff for the past 5 or 6 years now. Not knowing exactly what's going to happen when it ends, but the way I see it is, right now their tax money is all going into the TIFF account where we're only allowed to spend it on certain things. But once that's over, it's going into the general fund. So it's going to, I think, it's not going to be as bad as people think it is. It's definitely going to add to our state valuation right now. The state makes their formulas for our aid and how much we pay in the schools and not counting that. But, they're going to be counting that soon. So we're going to have to pay some more school taxes. I see that their money is going to be coming into the general fund and being able to go into the same pool as everyone else's. So I don't see it being a big problem for taxpayers coming up. It's just, we're going to have bigger budgets for stuff that we haven't been spending it on before, like fire trucks. That comes right out of the TIF money. We're going to have to be putting that in the fire station's budget. But, I just hope, like my opponent here said, I hope we can get some more smaller businesses in. That's the biggest tax revenue bringer inner and less public services like, all these houses are.
Thank you. Greg?
Good evening, Greg McPherson, 3-year term. So I think it's a two-prong, process the town needs to take to go for this. Like Dan said, the funds are no longer going to go into a TIF account. They're going to be going in the general account. So we'll actually have a little bit more flexibility what we do with the money. We're no longer going to be tied to these TIF account restrictions. So that's good. We can use the money how we see fit. The bad being we wouldn't have been able to use, we wouldn't have been saving as much money potentially for items like the town hall or the fire truck. So those items are going to have to be budgeted separately, good and bad. The thing I think we can do proactively is change our zoning ordinances to allow more businesses, smaller businesses, home occupations, reduce the net density for uses, allow multiple uses with the same net density for those businesses. So if you wanted to have, a place that had multiple uses according to the use table in the zoning ordinance, you could do that without owning more land. So you could potentially bring in more revenue, more tax. So I think, long story short, I think more business in town is going to be the easiest solution, and then budgeting that general fund is going to be even more crucial. Thank you.
Mike?
I'm not going to be able to add much past what Dan and Greg have said, actually. It's pretty much spot on. But I will say before the TIF runs out, I think with the new town manager model, I really think it would be crucial for us to take another look at how we're using those funds and make sure we're doing it the right way before it runs out. But I agree 100% with Greg. Reimagining our commercial base and town centers and trying to strive for a town center, I think is probably most important thing we could do for the future, for our families and for community, and go back to our zoning ordinances and basically see where we can make some positive changes that are going to attract the business. Again, back to the town manager model, I really do believe it's going to attract businesses because we're going to be viewed in a different way, almost with a more, I hate the word professional, but just we're going to look like a community that's strong. We have really strong leadership with a strong select board and a strong town manager model. It's just going to be really, really good for us. So I'm excited to see what the future brings.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Tom?
Fantastic. So for the past year and a half or so on the planning board, we had worked on adjusting ordinance and proposed ordinance changes that would allow more uses under one roof. Again, kind of what Greg chimed in on or talked about. It was lowering net density requirements and then trying to promote small locally owned businesses. Hollis, I don't want to say a long time ago, but years ago was a bunch of small mom and pop businesses that really are having a hard time existing now or going under. Having spent 5 years on the planning board and seen the businesses that have come, besides pot shops, it's really just I know, right? There haven't been many people starting businesses in Hollis. In front of the planning board, it's mostly been me, between a car dealership, self-storage facility, now a food truck. I'm on day 12 of waiting for an approval on a food truck permit that's a permitted use in the zone. For people unfamiliar with permitted uses versus conditional uses go in front of a planning board. There's a lot bigger application process. You have public hearings, site walks, et cetera, et cetera. A permitted use is something that's allowed in the zone. The people that came to the planning board before us created this zone chart and allowed uses in certain zones without overly restrictive regulations by the town. And like I said, I've turned in a permitted use permit before for a car repair for my my used car lot. And it was a very simple form. It's one page. It was back then. It was a $50 application, but it's a $100 application. One page. The code enforcement officer looks at it and goes, "Yep, it is it is a permitted use in the zone. You're good to go." They sign off on it. It's usually a bing bang boo. You're in and out in a half hour, 20 minutes. But for whatever reason, we're at day 12 of waiting for that permit to get signed off on. So I think promoting small business in the town of Hollis is a huge thing. Giving people the option to work from home, create home-based businesses. On the planning board, we tried to align home occupation stuff so that it was more broadly accepted and get rid of some of the gray area where different code enforcement officers would interpret the ordinance in different ways. So we tried to get rid of that. None of this stuff made it on the ballot because the select board wouldn't let it on. But I think small business.
We're talking about the TIF. We're really not talking about ordinances, so if you'd stick to the question, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, so small business will help to offset the loss of the TIF. Promote small business. Sir.
Thank you. So Heather, that probably is not your bailiwick, but if you'd like to comment, you may.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, because I know that what you're going to do is absolutely nothing like what these folks are going to do, and I'll try to get you around that, so thank you.
Thank you.
So the next question, Dan. Where do you see the town in 5 or 10 years? Examples like growth, businesses, or services, or all three?
I kind of see our services. We're doing really good on services. We'll see what happens with the new, public works services going on. But I'd kind of like to see our town snowballing. Right now, we got the town hall built up. That's awesome. The fields and everything looking good at the soccer fields. Our baseball scoreboard's working again. I think everyone at the town's been really busting their butt lately. We got a new town manager on. I just want to be able to see, people relaxing, being able to stay in their homes. I don't want to see a big tax increase. I don't want to see a bunch of new businesses. I mean, I don't mind seeing mom and pop stores and maybe, I always thought the Hollis Center Library property development would be a great thing. I wouldn't mind seeing that get re-sparked again. I know the library debate comes up every year. That would be a great spot to kind of combine stuff. The rec department's been killing it. I'd like to see some more parks being put to use. The town owns a lot of property, and we're only using a couple little spots of it. We got this riverfront property here. We got the 100 acres out behind the sports complex that could be some trails put in. Just want to keep snowballing what's been doing good the last couple years I've been around here.
Okay, Greg?
Thank you. So can you rephrase the question? Just want to hear it again.
Where do you see the town in the next 5 to 10 years? In an example, do you see growth? Do you see new businesses, or do you see just a service town?
All right. So, like I previously said, I hope to see some more small businesses, mom and pops, home occupations. I think that will help keep our taxes lower. As far as growth, I looked at some numbers of growth for Hollis, and we've been pretty steady. It's been really slow growth. We looked at a potential growth limit for the town, and when we ran the numbers, we realized we never needed it because the lowest cap that we ever had, historically, we haven't hit it in recent times. So I think we're going to have continued, steady growth. I don't think it's going to be exponential. I think it's going to be, very minimal, single-digit percentages every year. It's probably going to grow, but not crazy. As far as services, I'd like to see the town use contracted services as long as possible. I don't think we have the tax base or the want to increase the taxes to bring on those public services quite yet. We've been pretty spoiled by having Pleasant Hill as our contractor for the winter and, our trash services. This year is going to be a change, so we'll see how that goes. But, it's a 3-year contract, so, we have the opportunity to look at it again in 3 years. And we do have a contract, so we can hold them to the standards in that contract. So if they're not performing, we have means in that contract to hold them to that. So I think we should keep with the contracted services for as long as possible, keep that, that tax burden as low as possible, so then we can, give that right back to the residents. I know there's a lot of aging population in this town that can't afford higher increasing taxes every year. So I think those kind of things all put together is what I see the town going forward, and hopefully with the goal of keeping our taxes low and manageable.
Thank you. Mike?
I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself, but I'm with Dan on the trajectory of the town. I really love where we're going. I love where the town hall is and all the different things that we're going to be able to do with this building and the new town hall. I think that's really great. What Jack has done in the fish pond and all the things that it's really great. I think community is such an important thing. I want my daughter to grow up, spread her wings, fly for a little bit, but then when she has a family, I want her to come back here, not to be with her dad and mom or anything like that, but just I want her, even if it's not Hollis, I want her to appreciate her childhood here. So it's really important to me that Hollis keeps on expanding. I mean, we have absolute angels working for the Parks Department. If you haven't met them, I mean, if you have, you know what I'm talking about. They do so much, and I want to expand that, and I want to try to see what we can do to increase civic engagement. So more people are volunteering for the Parks Department and volunteering their time and helping Debbie and Chip and Dawn and just making it better over there. So that's on the personal, on the softer side of things. On the terms of increasing our taxes, or I disagree with Greg a little bit on the whole definitive that we should definitely go with only contracted public services. I don't personally know the future, but what I can confidently say is that I am not firmly against a public works department. I'm not firmly against some sort of law enforcement, and that's not because I am necessarily in favor of those things, but I haven't seen the data that says that that's actually going to increase our taxes or that's going to increase our tax burden, because honestly, no one's been able to show me anything that's going to happen. I think we have a lot of resources surrounding us at different towns that we can fall back on and ask, how they did it. We can learn from their mistakes potentially, and we can certainly form a committee and actually look at the question as opposed to just ruling it out. We are going to continue to grow over the next 5 and 10 years, and I want to make sure that we're set up for the future. Let's not shut the conversation down just so we can save taxes, or that we don't know. We don't know that. Let's talk about it. Let's form committees. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Tom?
Sir. I think keeping taxes low is a very important thing to pretty much all of us. So I think we should be focusing a lot on trying to keep taxes low. There's a lack of senior housing. There's a lack of the ability for senior citizens to age in place. Just looking at some of the tax records and some of the tax numbers from areas around me, they're not low. It's not a small amount of money for people that are living on Social Security or fixed incomes. It's a struggle. I can't imagine it not being a struggle. it's a struggle for people who have full-time jobs. So I feel that keeping taxes low, it should be, at the top of the list. And how that's done is either cutting things that we don't need, the residents feel we don't need, and that can be done through a vote where residents can voice their opinion and decide how money should be spent, or bring in more small businesses. I don't think any of us want to see another Poland Spring, but small mom and pop businesses, again, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but I think is a very good thing for the town of Hollis to push. What Mike said, our rec department is fantastic. I've known Chip for a long time. He's an amazing, amazing human being. They have done amazing things for the kids in Hollis, and they continue to do amazing things. They're trying to expand. It helps everybody in the town that works by giving them an amazing option for childcare, and at a very, very affordable rate compared to some of the other options out there. So keeping taxes low, expanding Parks and Rec, kind of moving along on that path.
Okay, thank you.
Sir.
Heather, you want to pass, or you want to take this one?
I'll take it.
All right?
I would really like to see, like the gentleman down at the end was saying, I would like to see, the town go in the direction of maybe providing a little more for the seniors in this town. As you know, we're all aging, and I don't feel that I feel that there could be a little bit more here, and it would be nice to see a little more for them. That would be a nice thing to see.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And Lou?
Yes, on the service side of the house, one of the reasons I came to Hollis is this is exactly how my town looked when I was growing up as a kid. So I kind of have this nostalgic feeling of this community. So on the service side, I think the town needs to look at their waterfront property and their rec area and maybe better utilize the waterfront area and make it more attractive to maybe outside families that want to maybe settle in here and increase our base. And then also on the growth side, eventually if we continue to grow, I think we're over 5,000 people in the town now. So if we continue this way, you're going to have to look at maybe consolidating the fire department, maybe look at a public works facility, and keeping in mind, we're going to minimize the increase in taxes, I think, but eventually, if you're talking 5, 10, 15 years down the road, you might want to start considering about that. What I like to do is maybe sit down with the town manager and see what his whole plan is and what he thinks would be some good ideas with the town. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings up the next question. Greg, the next question is, how will you embrace working with the new town manager?
That's a great question. So as somebody who sat on the committee to bring the town manager and the 5-person select board, I embrace the town manager wholeheartedly. I think it's a great time to get the human resources out of the select board. I think it's, in the ordinance, the way it was written, the select board's no longer dealing with employee issues or, day-to-day problems of the town. Now we're going to have more time to deal with the big picture stuff. And then obviously collaborate with the town manager on that. I think we're going to be able to really utilize his expertise and leadership, where now the town's going to really prosper with one person that is in charge of everybody rather than 3 people. Instead of playing mom versus dad when you don't get the answer from one person you go to the next. Now we're going to have one point person that the town's going to, all the town employees can look to. I think it's really going to bring a cohesive feeling to the town office and town hall. I haven't had a chance to sit down and discuss with him personally what his strengths and weaknesses are, but hopefully, if all goes well on June 10th, we'll have some free time to do that and use every one of his strengths to its fullest ability. Thank you.
So I'm aligned with Greg on this. I'm very thankful. As I've said multiple times already in other answers, I'm very excited about the new town manager in the town manager style government. It lets the select board's role become more strategic. We get to set direction. We get to monitor performance. We get to collaborate more and collaborate with them and with each other. And I think that's an exciting thing. I also want to say, not to be in any way negative, but I've also heard some stories about that transition not going well in other towns where they're transitioned to a town manager, and there's a lot of friction and resistance to new ideas. And I think it's really, really important that we elect people that are going to be open communicators, collaborative, and are not going to push back, and we're going to listen to his ideas and make sure that we treat him as what he is, which is a expert. We hired him for a reason, and we're going to rely on his expertise to guide us into the new phase of our town. Thank you.
Well done. Tom?
Sir, from a transparency and accountability standpoint, it's a fantastic thing to have another unbiased set of eyes on a lot of stuff that happens in the town. There's been times when the select board's had a member or two out, and it's been one single person shouldering that burden of running an entire town, making the decisions for the town, what they thought was good or bad. It's a huge thing to ask one person to do. With a town manager, it adds another, like I said, another set of eyes. I've heard from different people getting stuff signed at certain times is hard to do with the schedule that the select board kept. If they had to come in on a certain day, they had to be there by a certain time, or the select board wasn't able. They weren't available. They had stuff going on. So having someone that's there with a set schedule, so that town employees or whoever can have stuff signed when they need to, whether it's a purchase order or whatever. I think it's going to be a very valuable thing. But transparency and accountability, and like I said, an unbiased set of eyes, and then having someone that they can count on to be there a certain set of hours when they need them there. So,
Thank you.
sir.
Heather?
I have yet to meet or know who the town manager will be. Oh, hello, nice to meet you. But I was brought up that you treat the CEO and the janitor the same. We all put on our pants one leg at a time. So I show everybody the same respect, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Lou?
Yes, I look forward to working with the town manager. It's a new set of eyes. He's from a different town, so he sees things a little bit differently, and also would welcome working with any of the selectmen also and getting a comprehensive package and plan for the town.
Okay, Dan?
So, if you guys don't know, all through the winter and spring, I sat on the board to hire our new town manager, and we started with, I think, over 60 applications, and Dick, looking at his resume, we're like, oh, we don't have to look any further after this. We were just joking around, right? And that's what it turned out. After we sat here on Tuesday, all day Tuesday, interviewing people. Dick came back. He's definitely the man for the job. So I definitely embrace him. He's like the best one, and also, like my opponent said again, fresh set of eyes. He's looks at us from outside. He's been on the select board before. He's held managing jobs. He's had long different things. I think his history is going to help kind of mesh everything together and work with everyone who's running the town right now. And he's also the reason why I'm able to run for select board. Before it was like a full-time job, but now, it's Dick's job, and we just get to come in a couple days a month to make decisions, and that's what I'm looking forward to the most. Having someone who knows what they're doing, kind of funneling all the requests, people calling up everything about, people going too fast or bump in my road. Now Dick is the person in charge, and he gets to do all the research and hopefully inform us select board members, and we can make decisions based off of him. I mean, it's what we signed up for, and I think it should be a good formula moving forward.
Thank you. Going to shift gears a little bit here now. I'm going to ask a question that is on a lot of people's minds, and you may be up on it and you may not, but is an opportunity for you to speak honestly about something you do not know about or you do know about. Brookfield Energy has announced its intention to decommission and breach the Bar Mills Dam. The proposed method of simply breaching the dam could result in an array of impacts for the residents of Hollis. What is your position on this proposal, and what are your expectations for Brookfield for abandonment of this site? So,
That's me,
Mike, you're
right?
up.
Yeah.
I think,
I think I was,
No, you had the last one.
Geez, I
Mike's
had a
up.
good answer for that one.
I'm a good guy. I could defer. You can, fine with that. So Brookfield. So in the current state of where that project is we're in arbitration, or Brookfield has hired an arbitrator to work with the town and listen to our concerns. The thing that comes to mind for me with the current status, and it has not been decided yet, is they're trying to remove only half of the dam, which really, I don't know about you, kind of bugs me a little bit, just because it's, if you're going to remove a dam, remove the whole thing, make it pretty again, and don't try to save money there. The environmental piece I need to look into more. I'm not sure what apparently the water level is not negligible in terms of what it's going to change, but it certainly is going to change the look and the feel and how we use that space and the area around Indian Cellar and all those things. But I think my biggest thing right now for what I've heard about the project and what I've researched about the project is I think we really should do everything we can to make sure the Buxton side is also removed, if you will, and it becomes the pretty place that it should be, because it is a beautiful, beautiful part. And the other piece, too, is I'm going to blank on the name of it, but there's also a part of the spillway that is going to kind of just be dry, and just what do we do with that big pit? We don't want kids to fall in there, so what can we do creatively to ask Brookfield to do? So kind of rambling answer, but that's my answer.
Tom?
That's a very good answer.
Is it?
That was more than I knew about it.
Thanks, bud.
I guess I sit on the other side of it where most of the Brookfield stuff, or the interactions we've had with Brookfield, was them coming to the planning board for projects over the years and either expanding or adding battery and stuff like that to different parts of it. But in most of our projects that we see at the planning board, there's always some sort of decommissioning plan that needs to be set in stone. There's always a budget set aside, or I forget what the word is for a decommissioning bond set aside, so that the area is returned back to basically what it came from. And for a company, regardless of how long they've been there or what impacts they've made, to be able to leave a piece of land not the way they found it when they've been pulling resources from it for so long just doesn't really sit right with me. Obviously, it really comes down to what the residents want them to do. And if the residents expect that the whole dam is removed, if the residents expect that half the dam is removed, public hearings, stuff like that is a great way to get your voice heard on a town level. So we always welcome it as a planning board. Select board's the same way. They always have their ears open to anything you have to say. So like I said, it just doesn't sit well that a company will come in, alter something, whether it's solar or hydro or wind. They all have decommissioning plans in place with bonds to cover that if they don't go through with it all the way. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Heather, do you want?
I'm gonna pass.
Okay.
Thank
Lou?
you.
can I pass too? No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
you can pass if you'd like.
So I think our representative is Blyer.
Yes,
I
Mark
think
Blyer.
Mark Blyer,
This
and
part
I
of
think
town.
one of our select board members is kind of on top of this, or
Nathan
no?
Carlo is this part of town, Mark Blyer
Right,
is
right.
part of town
So
that you and I
I
are
think
in.
there was a couple of people, I know him and another person that's involved in that decommissioning project. So you might want to approach them, and then the other thing is, do we have a representative that's for the electric company, that if we have a list of concerns from the residents, like, you know, how's it gonna happen, you know, what's gonna go on, and then do a list of, you know, concerns and present that to the company and say, you know, this, you know, if you could answer these questions, that would be greatly appreciated, because it does affect our town and, you know, how it appears. So I just do that.
Thank you, Dan.
From what I've gathered watching the meetings and YouTube videos and stuff like that, you know, that's beyond repair. There's no way that they're going to invest the money to bring it back up to make power. I know that's what everyone says should happen, you know, keep the dam and everything, but, you know, Brookfield spends money on stuff, but I don't think that they're going to put the money into that. So I think the best way we can get out of it is, you know, hold them to remove it. Like Tom said, you know, if they just want to put a hole in the middle of the dam and leave that building there, it's just going to be a safety hazard down the road. You know, who knows what Brookfield's going to do. They're a firm who, you know, they make investments, and when the investment doesn't pan out, you know, they cut the cord, and that's what they're doing here. You know, I think that we should be grateful that they are helping out the fish migration up there. You know, as you know, there's fish dams at Skelton and further down the river, but once they get there, there's no way past. So I think that will definitely help out the ecology in the area. I wish Brookfield could maybe help us out. You know, up north, they have whitewater rafting at Brookfield places. You know, they have kayaking stuff down in Biddeford. How come we can't have something like that here in Hollis?
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have this new flow going through there. You know, it might be a attraction for the area. You know, the only thing constant is change. So I think we just got to just try to get the best outcome that Hollis can get at the end of it, and just kind of push for, you know, them restoring that area back to what they can as best they can, and not leave you know, hazard for us in the future.
Thank you. Greg?
I had a great answer till everybody took it. So I think Dan is kind of hitting the nail on the head here. You know, at one time there was no dam there, and now there is. That was a big change. And now it's time for there to be another big change. My biggest concern is sediment, silt. You know, we have a ton of rules in the state of Maine to control silt and sediment that go into our waterways. Yet behind this dam is the amount of sediment and silt is unmanned. You know, it's unquantifiable at the moment. So whatever it happens, we need to make sure that we're holding them accountable to do this in the safest way possible for the aquatic life of the river. There's going to be some short-term downfalls of removing a stand. There's no doubt about it. I just think we need to look for the best long-term solution for everybody here. And if they're not going to maintain the dam, it's probably best that it gets taken out by them rather than by Mother Nature at some point down the road after it's not maintained. It's a safety hazard. So as long as it's done safely and with our aquatic life in mind, it sounds like the best option from everything that I've heard on this subject.
Thank you. Okay, Tom, this next one is yours. The comment here is, someone has said, can you speak to your stance on residential and commercial development in Hollis, specifically Article 19, which amends the zoning ordinance to eliminate cluster subdivisions?
Oh yeah, absolutely, fantastic. I don't agree with eliminating cluster subdivision. I made that clear this most recent time that it's been on the ballot, and I've made it clear the last time that it was on the ballot, kind of on the ballot, straw poll. Cluster subdivision is a very good way to keep expansive housing in one area. It preserves a lot of green space that would be otherwise not preserved if you put in a traditional subdivision. It's less roads to plow when the town eventually absorbs the road. It's a great tool to build a town while keeping respect for nature and all the other stuff that goes on that we want to try to preserve. So it's really is, I feel, a best of both worlds type thing. But as far as cluster housing goes, I stand with cluster housing.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yep.
Thank you. Heather?
Pass.
Pass.
Thank you.
Lou?
Yes, I looked at the cluster housing, and I am for it because it does save on space and resources. But like Terry said at the last town meeting, just the ordinance of the town, cluster ordinance, needs to be rewritten a little bit better so it'll be more effective.
Dan?
So, as you know, I'm a land surveyor, and I've done, a handful of subdivisions, a couple in town. I've never done a cluster subdivision. I just, I'm not against them totally. I just don't like the ones that have been popping up in Hollis as of late. All the houses exactly right next to each other down a row. I think it just kind of, it doesn't look like Hollis anymore. I think there should be some separation between houses, but, maybe we should, instead of repealing the whole thing together, look at a new, write it all over again, trying to take input from, other people in the community. It's great for a developer to do it because they can make as much money as they can with the least amount of investment. It's good for, the snowplow driver because he doesn't have to go as far, but, the snowplow driver also has to deal with every little driveway and stuff right in a row. I don't see it as being a big savings for that. I just wish there could be some sort of medium in between.
Greg?
As an avid outdoorsman, I think the saving of the open space that the cluster subdivisions bring to this town is a huge asset that we have. If you're not aware, cluster subdivision versus regular subdivision, they require the same amount of net density or square footage per house as each other, or as you would on your lot. The only difference with cluster is it reduces the size of the square footage you need for your particular house, and then the rest of the remaining land that you're required to have is then put in a big pool with the rest of the subdivision, which can never be touched. It's never taken away. So now you can have these, as many houses as you want in the subdivision, but then you have tens of acres, exponentially acres behind there or wherever they're, deemed to be common space. And now we have all this extra space that, could promote deer overwintering habitat, snowmobile trails, walking trails, all the stuff that, as an avid outdoorsman, I think we need more of, and it kind of saves that, while still allowing, people to come to town, because people are going to come here because they love the town no matter what. I think we just want to save as much open space as we possibly can while that happens.
I took a drive around Hollis the other day, and I visited, I think, all of our cluster subdivisions, and I think some of them were done very well. And I think some of them, the ones that Dan was referring to, which is kind of house on the main road, I wish there was a time machine to go back and say, oh, why did you approve that? Why was that approved? What I really like about the cluster subdivisions that I went to was the neighborhood. For those who desire that type of lifestyle, there's a neighborhood and a cul-de-sac and a place where kids can, ride their bike, where can kids do that in Hollis, really? Except, they're not going to be on 117, right? So they have a place where they can play hopscotch and be out on the street, and people drive in there and they're going 10 miles per hour, 15 miles per hour, and that's a really great thing. And like everyone else has said, I'm not going to necessarily repeat it, but I think it's a good use of space, and it really keeps Hollis, the character of Hollis, and allows people to have the lifestyle of a neighborhood feel while living in a rural community like we have.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, this one should be relatively easy, I think. Someone has said, if you were to receive $1 million grant for the town of Hollis to use any way you wanted to, how would you use it?
I would use it to help the less fortunate and the elderly, and probably to help the rec department and children's programs here in town.
Hello?
Pretty much along those lines, you have to look at if there are any debts in the, on the balance sheets for Hollis, maybe clear those out, and then, emphasize the services, and maybe look at helping out the fire department if they need anything.
Thank you. Dan?
I'd want it to go towards our parks and recs. Not only the programs they offer, maybe some scholarships for the kids, but like I said, maybe put in, I like mountain biking, and right in Gorham, they have 50 miles of mountain bike trails, just right down the road, berms and jumps and everything. I'd like to see something like that out behind the sports complex.
Greg?
Maybe biased on this one as I am in the construction field, but I think infrastructure, I think roads, it's something that's in our budget every year. We put $250,000 into our roads every year, and it's not enough. You drive around town and you gotta need an alignment. I think that money it's an easy infrastructure improvement project.
I want to build, do you remember Happy Wheels? I want to make a really big Happy Wheels that, no, it's not true.
Good luck with $1 million.
Yeah, it's a really big one. Yeah, big track. Hey, so this is what I would probably say off the cuff, 50-50 going into really the same thing with the senior, making senior some sort of way to incentivize a developer to develop senior housing so people can, as we've said, age in place. I've heard too many stories about someone, getting to 88 and then still able to, they're still a viable human being and they have to move to Portland or South Portland by the mall, and it's just sad because they have to be away from the what they know. So that's 500,000 there. And then the other 500,000, sorry to be a broken record, Parks and Rec. Let's get more facilities. Let's build more. Let's expand the field and make great places for our kids and our families to hang out. Thanks.
Tom?
Sort of a rinse and repeat of the last two, but taking half of it, and I liked what Maine did for a little bit there, where they gave tax relief to senior citizens who were legitimately getting taxed out of their homes. So we can take $5 million of that and set it aside, so that seniors can continue aging in place. And then again, the other half, just like everybody else, kids and seniors, man. It's where it needs to go.
So the question that everybody wants to ask, I'm sure, and I'll ask it on behalf of them, and although I have a written card here, Sid, will you specifically tell us what your position is and how you will lower taxes or at least keep them stable? And that would be Lou, you're up first.
Just fiscal responsibility, take a look at the budget sheet, see what we're doing, and then, once again, with the cluster housing, you could maybe develop like with for lower income people, you don't build these monster houses, because I don't see that as generating a lot of revenue. I just think that if you take care of the people that are here and then maintain what we got, I think that would be the best way of keeping the taxes and revenues stable.
Yeah?
I hate to say it, but I think lowering taxes is a fairy tale. I think the only thing we can do is try to lower or increases the cost. The number one driver is employees, and one of the biggest things on that is insurance. I wish we didn't have to, pay as much for insurance, but I think it's just the way it is. Everyone's getting taxed everywhere. I think it's just, being responsible, we have a town manager. Hopefully he'll be able to go through our sheets. He said he's got a bunch of connections and a couple people who've done development. Like I said earlier, that small businesses, light industrial is the number one thing to help offset costs of residents, and it's kind of what we got to look into in the next couple of years.
Thank you. Greg?
Yeah. So, lowering taxes from where they are now is going to be a huge feat. Nothing's getting cheaper. Go to the grocery store; you can see that for yourself. Keeping them as low as possible is attainable. First, I want to make sure I haven't been on the select board yet, so I haven't been part of the budgeting. But first thing I want to do is make sure that we're doing a zero budget every year, starting from the ground up. Make sure we're not taking last year's budget and then just editing. Let's start fresh, look at new ways to save money. Let's start fresh every year on that budget, so we're all taking a look at every single line item. We had $10,000 last year, so we get $10,000 this year. With towns, you always hear, well, use it or lose it, and I don't think we want to make sure that's not happening in Hollis. So zero budget every year. A huge part of our taxes come from the schools, which select board has zero control over. If we want to reduce our taxes, we need to get a school budget that's as low as possible. How do we do that? We get involved. Encourage residents to be in part of the schools and go to those budget meetings. I think as a select board, hopefully we would have a bigger voice if we went to those meetings. So that'd be kind of one of my goals, would potentially go to those meetings and kind of get involved and lower that. I think it's around 70% of our taxes are schools. How do you lower your taxes if the majority of your budget's out of your hands? That's really hard to do. So, and the last thing is encourage businesses, like we've said it a million times, but residential houses only increase the tax burden. Businesses are the one thing we can do to lower the tax burden. Zero budget, start fresh every year, work with the schools to get that budget as low as possible, and then encourage businesses any way possible. We all have connections, let them know there's, great opportunities in this town for everybody.
I'm also a reduction is probably implausible, not really something we're going to be able to do. Maintaining or trying to minimize gains is or tax increases is certainly going to be our goal. I'm not going to have every single answer to this, and that's why I again go back to our town manager and see what he has done in the past, to see what other towns have done to maintain and in some cases save money, some places to try to keep our budget as well as our taxes low. So that's pretty much what I have.
Tom?
I hate going at the end because it just sounds like I'm repeating everything else, but I think most people nailed it. Trying to lower taxes from where they are. We're lower than everybody else already. I pay more in property taxes in Leamington for 1 acre and one house than I do in the town of Hollis, which makes me nervous that we're not as high as we should be, and that there's the risk of the state coming in and doing what they did in Leamington, basically. But the select boards assured us they're on top of their game. They're getting reevals done, so that puts a little ease at my mind. But yeah, it really is keeping taxes low is going to be tricky. You're cutting what you don't want. A lot of it's out of our hands, but it's not out of our voices. That sounds so cheesy.
Good line.
Good line. But it is the truth. So the more you speak up, the more you let people know that the taxes are important to you. You are getting overtaxed, and you don't want to be taxed higher than you already are. Making your voice heard it really is key.
Thank you.
Sir.
Pass.
I would love to lower your taxes, but I think that would be frowned upon. So I will be just collecting them, but I will do it with a smile.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that basically, there are a few questions left here, but many of them have been touched on by the discussions here before the candidates. So I think we'll now, it's kind of warming and the evening's getting along. I think each candidate will have a closing statement, and then we will adjourn. So we'll start on your end this time. Tom, you
appreciate that. No, like I said, as I've said in many public hearings, transparency and accountability is a big thing for me. Making sure that the citizens' rights are respected, the citizens' vote is respected, and getting as many people involved in town politics and public hearings as we can. Having sat on the planning board for half a decade here and then 3 years in Leamington, it's tricky for a planning board to know exactly what residents want if residents don't come in and tell us what they want. We've held public hearings for items that the board was split on, and the residents' input at those public hearings has helped guide us to make the correct decisions that would best represent the town. So like I said, it really is key. Transparency, accountability, getting your voice heard to make sure that what you want in the town of Hollis is finding its way on the ballot and being respected once it's voted on. So, thank you.
Welcome. Mike?
Yeah, we're stepping into a new chapter in our town in Hollis with a larger select board with the town manager style or town manager government to help us operate more professionally, effectively. And that transition is, again, it's not going to be easy. It's going to take leaders with vision and teamwork and know how to work within a system, not around it. They need to be able to build partnerships and be focused on results for our residents. And I personally have done that in my career. Leading teams, complex environments. I'm ready to bring the same structure to Hollis or do my part to bring the same structure to Hollis. If you want someone that represents values of teamwork and things along that, structure over chaos, community over division, I'm your guy. And thank you very much for your time. And this is awesome that you guys put this together. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg?
First, I'd like to thank the Grange for putting on this event. Greatly appreciate it. I think it's a great asset for the town to hear everybody in one spot. Also, I'm glad that we have no uncontested seats. It's really great to see that we have more people looking to get involved with the town. Even if I don't win this election, I think the town's in good hands. I mean, I definitely don't agree with everything that Mike says, and that's okay. Nobody in this room agrees on everything. I think the one thing that I can bring to this position that is tough to bring is a jump start. I've been on the planning board for a while now, and I've seen new faces come in, and it takes them a year plus to get up to speed. And I think that's going to be the same case with most members on the select board. Obviously, there's a few members here that are on other boards. But I think that being involved in the town currently gives some of the people on this that are sitting up here tonight a jump start to not have that lag time of learning how the town currently operates. I think there's going to be an easier transition. We already have enough hard work ahead of us going from a 3-person select board to a 5-person with town manager. I think as much experience with the town that we can bring to those positions, it's really going to make that transition a little bit easier. Thank you, and hopefully you see everybody on June 10th. Thank you.
Dan?
Thanks for coming out, everyone. I'm glad seeing so many familiar faces in the audience. Like I said, I grew up here. I made connections in the town early on. My first job was mowing Butch Gannett's parents' house. I know a lot of people through the town. I've served on committees, boards. Just like I said about the dam question, the only thing constant is change, and we're going through big changes. New town hall, new town manager. We're going to 5 boards, 5-member select board. I'm just looking forward for your vote on June 10th. Trying to, like I said, I think I like the way that the town's heading. I just want to kind of keep that snowballing. And if anyone has any questions after the event or anything, feel free to contact me. My phone number's on all my signs. Look me up in the phone book, Maine Boundary Consultants, Facebook. But what's really great is there's so many people running for these positions. I don't remember ever seeing more than 2 people. It's rare that 2 people run for select against the same seat for select board. So it's great that everyone's looking forward to helping serve the town. But thanks for your vote. Sorry, I wish I prepared some notes, but I've just been I'm a family man. I've been going to dance recitals and baseball games the last month constantly. And but thanks for putting me up here.
Thank you. Lou?
Great. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and to speak. So yes, I haven't been on the boards like the members here with my duties as a federal investigator and being deployed all the time for the FDA. It's kind of hard to get that into the small town setting and everything. But one of the things the reason I ran is because I like the small town values. I like the people here, and I see it a great opportunity with the town manager and a fresh board of select people. That's why I jumped in here, and I just, with my ability as through the military and being deployed and through setting up various departments and different agencies. So I have the skill set to analyze, think about the issue, and then solve the problem utilizing a team or a group of people. That's where I'm most effective at. So one of the things I'd like to sit down with Richard and go over and see what his ideas are and what other select board members' ideas, and get going. And since I'm retired, I have plenty of time, gentlemen, to catch up with the rest of you. So that's all I have to say. And once again, I'll be available after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather?
Thank you very much for inviting me here tonight. I really appreciate it. And I really look forward to this new journey or new chapter. And I will work hard every single day to be the best asset I can to this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to candidates. Thank you very much. And thank the public for coming. Appreciate it. Like to see a room full. It's great.
Thank
So
you,
that
guys.
was-